Here is an interesting problem which relates position and time, and it could be solved using two variables. The question is, two trains are approaching each other along parallel tracks. One train travels at 100 kilometers per hour and goes twice as fast as the other. If their distance apart is 225 kilometers, in how many hours will they pass each other? So that is the question before us. So think like this, that these are the two trains. This is one track and this is the other track. So these are the two tracks for us, and it says two trains are approaching. That means they are going in this direction, right? Approaching, correct? Each other along a parallel track. One train travels at 100 kilometers an hour. Let's say this one is traveling at 100 kilometers an hour and goes twice as fast as the other. So this will be half the speed. So it will be 50 kilometers an hour. If their distance apart is 225, that means if this distance from here to here is 225 kilometers, in how many hours will they pass each other? So now I have given you the figure which represents the situation, and that should help you to answer the question. So try to answer your question with reference to the given figure. Now first part is define your variables. Second, write down the equation. Third, solve. And fourth, write down the answer with units. So you want time in hours. Now my suggestion is, let's define the variables first. So it says two trains are approaching each other along parallel path. One train travels at 100 kilometers per hour and goes twice as fast as the other. So let's say the speed of one train is x and the speed of the other train will be, let's say, let x and y be the speed of trains, right? Then we know that x is equal to, two trains are approaching each other along parallel path. One train travels 100 kilometers per hour and goes twice as fast as the other. So x is 2 times y. So one train goes twice as the other. Now we know x is 100, right? Since x is 100, we write y should be how much? Y should be equals to 100 divided by 2. And that is 50, correct? That is how we get our speed of 50 kilometers per hour for the train B, right? So we are saying this train is x and this train's speed is y. So we find their speeds like this. Now, second part is, when will they meet or cross, right? So you should remember one thing. Let us say they cross at this point. Let us say this is the time t. Now, time is same for both, right? In time t, how much distance will they cover? Now, total distance is 225. So, if I say that the distance traveled is d here for train x, then the distance traveled by the other train will be 225 minus d. Is it okay? That is the distance covered, right? Now we know our distance time triangle. Why I am giving all this? So that visual representation helps you to retain information. Distance, speed and time. Now, one thing is very clear, that both of them, when they meet, they have traveled for the same time. Time is same for them, right? So how do you write time in terms of distance and speed? Distance divided by speed is time. So let's write down time for both the trains to come to this meeting point. So for the train x, it will be distance is d. So we write d divided by the speed, which is 100, which should be equal to distance traveled by the other train, which is 225 minus d, right? So it is 225 minus d divided by speed of the train, which is 50. Do you see that? This equation helps to find distance, right? So we'll cross multiply, we can solve this. So 50 if I take here, so 50 goes 2 times, right? So I can write this as d equals to, let's multiply by 100 this side. So it becomes 2 times 225 minus d, right? So which is d equals to 2 times 225, 5 times 2 is 10, 4 this is 5, and 450 minus 2 times d, right? So when I bring it on this side, 3d equals to 450, and therefore d equals to 450 divided by 3. That gives you 3 times 1, 15 is 5, 150 kilometers. So this train X covers 150 kilometers, correct? So we know the distance now. Since we know the distance, we can find time using any one of these equations, correct? So to find time, we can say distance over 100 is time. We can use, this is time t1, time t2, both were equal, correct? Now we know distance is 150. So time is equals to distance over 100, right? Which is for the X train, which is traveling with 100 kilometers per hour. So it is 150 divided by 100. And that gives you time of 1.5. 1.5. And the unit is hours, since speed is in kilometers per hour. Do you understand? That is how we can solve this question, right? So if their distance apart is 225, in how many hours will they pass each other? So they will pass each other in 1.5 hours, right? 1.5 hours. So therefore our answer says they will pass each other in 1.5 hours. So that is how we are going to solve it, correct? So what I have done here is, I am considering grade 9 and grade 10 students both to look into this, right? So grade 10 students look at this problem as a linear system form, and grade 9 students are doing it in a simpler way, which I adopted, correct? So I like you to write linear equations and then solve this question. And I have explained it in a very, very simple language so that even the students of grade 9 can understand how we can solve this kind of equation, right? Have a look at it and then try to do a similar question. Change some values, right? Change some values. So change this value from 225 to, let us say, 700 kilometers, and speed ratio 2:3 rather than double. Make it, it is going at a speed of 2/3 of the other train. So make it a fraction and then do a similar question. That should help you. Thanks and all the best.